Hi, and welcome to Knit All the Things. My name is Laurel. I'm also known as West Maven on Instagram, Ravelry, and here. If you're new, this is a space where I talk about all the things I'm knitting, all the things I want to knit, all things yarn, just all the things. And if you're returning, welcome back, Knitting Bestie. I can't wait to catch up with you. In this week's episode, we have so much knitting to talk about. First off, I always start the year saying, no more test knits. I'm not test knitting. And I'm a liar. No, that just went out the wayside because there's so many designs coming out that I really want to knit right now. And so I have two test knits that I'm going to share with you. One is finished, one is almost finished, and I cast it on in the last 2 weeks. Like, I have been loving it. So I can't wait to share those with you. I also have spring and summer knits that I have made in the past, and I'm going to share some of those patterns with you and talk about either what I would like to do differently or what I would have changed or what I modified. So grab your knitting, get cozy, and let's go. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm wearing real quick. This is a Ranunculus sweater. The pattern is by Midori Hirose. The yarn is Albina mohair in the colorway Cocoa, and Chelsea Luxe yarns or Chelsea yarns in the colorway Straw Hat. I held them both together. The Straw Hat colorway was more of a golden tone, whereas the Cocoa color was more of a like greenish yellow, definitely a cool yellow. I love how it turned out. It has definitely a little bit of a marled effect in the colorway. I also added beads to this one, and they're clear seed beads, so they are very subtle. I really like just the little bit of sparkle, and yeah, that's this one. I also will link an episode below where I talk more about this sweater, but we have so much knitting that I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one just because I have talked about it in depth in the past. So I will link that below if you are curious to hear more about this sweater. I will say the one thing I modified besides the beads was knitting the body longer, and by accident, I believe this pattern's main needle is a size 10. A US 10, and I think I made a mistake and knit it on a 10.5. So it definitely is a looser fabric, and I'm wearing this in Portland, Oregon. It's like the high of 52 Fahrenheit. I'll put the Celsius because I never know on the screen, but it's not like the warmest day, but this is a very warm sweater. The looseness of the fabric combined with the mohair really does keep it warm, but it's nice and light. So I do imagine this would be a wonderful travel sweater just because it is so light. I think it would be like a nice, like actually very warm sweater for travel that has a nice drape and it's cozy. To me, it feels a little bit like a very fancy sweatshirt, just the way that it fits me. So I'll stand up really quick again just so you can see. It's definitely a lot of positive ease, and I like the sleeves to come down on my hand a little bit. And yeah, has short rows. It's a really just nice sweater. And anytime I'm needing like a little bit of like color therapy, if you will, and I'm feeling like I want to wear something other than black, I definitely gravitate towards this sweater quite a bit. Okay, so I have been knitting like crazy. Last week we talked about my pyramid light sweater. It's this purple one behind me. And this is a test knit that I'm working on from Minimi Knitwear Designs, Christina. And it is one of many of her pyramid designs. Let me grab it real quick. Okay, so this isn't out quite yet, but I believe it will be out soon, like in the next week or so. So this particular design, you actually knit inside out. So you are knitting basically so that you don't have to do so much stockinette on the body. You're knitting it inside out. And then you have this beautiful slip stitch detail, and you have increases on either side. You're increasing through here on both the front and the back. It creates this kind of V-neck pattern, or V-neck shaping, if you will. There's no finishing on the neck, although I'm sure you could if you felt like it. And you have pretty much no sleeve. You basically pick up and rib, and that's it. So it's a very simple sweater. It went pretty quickly. The gauge, I believe, is 21 stitches and 4 inches. And the one thing I am gonna do, and why I haven't cut any of the strings off, is I am not loving how cropped this is on me. I did knit it to pattern because I wanted to make sure I could get the yarn amounts and everything to submit, but it is a little bit on the short side. I think I want another inch. I believe the body length on this is like, I think it ends up being 9 inches total. I think you do like 8.5 inches or so knitting on the body and then do the hem. I wanted to wait because I knew I was going to want it longer, but I wasn't exactly sure how much longer I was going to want. I waited because this is a superwash yarn. So this is 100% superwash merino. This is by Treehouse Knits, and it is on her Sierra Sport in the colorway Hummingbird. And it is really super bright. I'm gonna hold it back just because sometimes when I'm editing, this will look a little bit better. But the yarn was wonderful. I think, I'm trying to remember. Oh, so I did, like, I think here there is a new yarn ball perhaps. I did do every other row for just a short amount of time to like kind of mix the yarn in, but I was noticing that it didn't seem like I was going to need a lot of helical knitting, so I just stopped. But I did kind of try to fade it in a little bit just in case there was a little bit of a line. Lauren of Treehouse Knits does such a good job dyeing her yarns. I feel like they're very, very consistent, and especially with a color like this, in my mind, since I'm not a yarn dyer, I would assume it would be probably pretty easy to have variation on this bright of a color, but I did not really notice any between the skeins at all. So I really can't say more nice things about the yarn. I haven't worn it yet, so it's really hard to say whether or not it'll be too pilly, but so far in and out of bags and things, I don't see any pilling. And sometimes I would say when you have like a very pilly yarn, like a cashmere, you might notice just even in and out of your knitting bag already starting to form some pills. So I don't see that at all. Let's see. So I would probably, I am gonna lengthen it, but I wanted to, again, just make sure because superwash wool grows and I wanted to see like how much. And it did grow, but I think I want it just a little bit more because after all, when we're making clothes for ourselves, we want them to fit how we want them to fit. You've spent so much time and energy making the item that it doesn't make a lot of sense to just like stop just short of like perfect in my mind. And so perfect to me is gonna make it a little bit longer. I do actually like the unfinished neckline. I was very unsure about this at first. I thought, oh, I don't know, maybe I'd wanna do something with that, but actually when worn, it looks very flattering. I will say there is not an issue, but this is something to keep in mind if you're knitting. This is something that I experienced. It's something that test knitters experienced. When you are doing the increases the way that it has to happen, let me think about this. You are knitting, or I'm sorry, you're increasing in purls. So you're increasing in purls, and then you're also increasing in purls, but you're having to do it in a reverse way. And so to do that, there is a special technique that she has a video tutorial on, so you don't have to worry about like not understanding how to do the increase. That is very straightforward. But I was unable to get, like, these are very, very sharp increases, whereas these are looser. And I think there's two ways I could hide that. One way I think would be to go on the inside and almost do like a little yarn through the back of those stitches just to like just slightly pull them a little bit tighter, like just kind of weave it through that line. I think that would be one way to like very easily like hide that they're not perfect. The other thing I thought I would do was so with the slip stitch pattern right here, I thought it could look really nice mimicking it on the seams. And I think how I would do this would be to crochet a little, like every other row, just to mimic what a slip stitch kind of length of a stitch would look like. A little chained embellishment, if you would, on those lines if it was really bothering me. I kind of think now that I have had more time not right up against the sweater and like really fussing with it, it actually I think looks okay. I think it's something I can live with, but these are just thoughts I've had on maybe ways to hide the fact that I just didn't get that stitch tight enough. And some people's looks perfect. Just because I wasn't familiar with the technique, I'm sure had I spent a little bit more time or practiced it a little bit more, there's probably a way of like making sure to tighten like the following stitch or something like that to like improve hiding it. But I just hadn't done it before and I was not being too precious about it. So I think it's fine. It's just one thing that, you know, I think when wearing it, you probably won't notice. Looking at it from here, I can see it, but again, I'm made it, so I know it's there. But that is the Pyramid Light Sweater by Minimi Knitwear Designs. Christina. So I really like it. I think it's going to be a nice layering piece. I imagine wearing it kind of under a cardigan more than on its own, but maybe. It's a very bright color. Like you can't miss me in a crowd if I'm wearing this. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that right now. I will wear it modeled for you once the pattern comes out. I don't like to do that until the pattern's out. One, because I want to show you when you can go and get it. And I think it's more exciting when you can see it on a body. And I don't want to also kind of share that information with you, although you can look on her Instagram and see her wearing her version. So if you are curious what it looks like on a body, go over and do that, and I will link her below. Okay, so this next sweater, I begged and pleaded. I really did. I begged and pleaded to be part of this test because for a few reasons. One, this is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, otherwise known as Boyland Knitworks, and she has many colorwork yoke sweaters and many items that all have very specific vibe. Like I always can see a sweater and be like, oh, that's a Caitlin Hunter's, you know, design. I can always tell. And when I saw this, I was like wowed because I feel personally that it is different than things that she's designed in the past, which is super exciting to me. So I really wanted to test knit this. This is called the Albina pullover or Albina sweater. And I believe the pattern is coming out in just a few weeks. I love this sweater. So it is a bottom up sweater, which isn't my favorite construction, but it works really well. I always get worried that the body isn't going to be long enough. This one is perfect. I would say the length is very good. It hits me just below my natural waist, and I'm knitting a size 2. A lot of Caitlin Hunter's patterns I have knit in a size 3. They fit me a little bit more oversized. There's definitely a lot more positive ease. This particular one I think is about 4 inches of positive ease. I think it's a little less than what's recommended, but I had like a very specific vision of what I wanted this sweater to look like. So in her version, some of the things I modified, which makes me not the best tester, but whatever. Okay, some of the things that I modified were her stripes are thinner. So when I went to knit this, swatch for this, I just like threw in some stripes. This is the like width of what the stripe is supposed to be. So it's a lot thinner version than what I have. And I liked that, but then I got to looking at it and I liked the width of this stripe. And so I decided that I was going to just widen the stripes. And I'm really liking how it turned out. So let me kind of outline what I did differently. So I made the bottom before starting the stripes a little bit longer because I had widened the stripes. I didn't want them to start at a weird spot, so I knew that this should visually look like a longer stripe than the other black stripes. So I made this longer, and then I started my striping sequence. And then I also knew that I didn't want this white stripe to be too close to where the neckband is. The neckband starts right about here. So I knew I was going to stop and not do any more stripes after I got to where we were going to start dealing with the neckband. So in her version, which I actually really love a lot, her stripes go up to the neckband and they kind of come off. And I think it looks so pretty. But just because I had made my stripes wider, I didn't want, I don't know, I didn't want one more stripe up here. So I left that out. The other thing, I think for now we'll leave that as like the thing that I changed. So you knit from the bottom up, then you do a 3 needle bind off at the shoulders, which gives this a lot of nice structure. And then I went on to the sleeve. The sleeve, if I can remember, I will pop a picture in over here. But I was trying to decide where I was going to start the stripes. So hers has you start like in stripe sequence right away because her stripes are smaller, they go up higher and it looks really nice. But because I hadn't changed mine, I decided to start the stripes after the first decrease for the sleeves. So that is kind of where I decided to like draw the line. The other thing that I did that I will kind of show you here on the body, this is where my stripes are, this is my beginning of round. So in order to make them less of a more of an invisible jog, I don't do anything. I basically just knit it exactly how it is and I do nothing. And then when I go back to weave in my ends, because I do actually cut for every stripe, I weave them in the other direction. So for example, if you're starting this white stripe, you start here and then you go this direction. So I take my white end of my white yarn and I start to go the other direction when I go to weave it in. And then the black yarn, I go the other direction. So that's how I kind of hide my jogs. And it works just fine. Like I don't think you can tell at all. So I didn't do that yet on the sleeves, and on the sleeves, you can tell. So that's what it will look like. It's totally fine. When I go back and weave in the ends, you won't notice at all. So that's kind of how I deal with stripes. Everybody has their own different way. Some people like to slip the first stitch on like the second row or something, and it kind of pulls things together a little bit more, but I just do nothing until I go to weave in the ends, and that's when I take the time to like make sure they disappear. One cool technique that is used in this sweater that I had never used before is the Russian bind off, and it gives this really beautiful kind of almost braid looking effect on the bind off, and I thought that was really, really nice. And I really, really thought it was a fun technique to learn. So I used Ilimani Sabri 2, and I used color 31 and color 81. So it's just basically I think it's called bone and black, and Ilimani Sabri 2 is made of 85% organic cotton, 15% baby alpaca, and it is one of my favorite summer yarns to knit with. I have zero hand fatigue when I knit with this. The baby alpaca makes it super soft, so you're not feeling like that dried sort of plant yarn feeling. And I really, really like it. I got extra yarn because I was unsure whether or not my like rogue adding extra yoke length and not doing so many stripes and all of that was going to like change the yarn that I needed. So I wanted to be on the safe side, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I was also a little bit nervous at first when I went to use this yarn. I had knit another sweater in the Ilimani Sabri 2 before, and I used a larger needle and got the gauge of like 16 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And I knew that the needle she recommended and the gauge is 19 stitches, that I could make it. I was like, oh, I'll make it. And when I went to go to the yarn shop, I was a little bit nervous because one of the girls had mentioned, she was like, oh, she's like, that could be really tight. And I thought, oh, maybe you're right. And I kind of had this moment of panic, and I thought, no, I know what the other fabric looked like, and I think a little bit tighter would be fine. So I will say it's not the lightest sweater because it is cotton, but I do imagine it will breathe nicely and it will be a good transitional sweater. I can imagine wearing it instead of a sweatshirt like at night in the summer. But I'm really pleased with it. I only have one more sleeve, which I already started. So I don't think it will take me much longer to finish. And again, once this pattern comes out, I will be sharing, I'll wear it and kind of share more details with you as I think of them. But for now, that is my Albina sweater, a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and I am beyond thrilled. I really, really like this style, and I had been craving knitting a drop shoulder sweater, and so this really like satisfied that craving. The gauge being 19 stitches is a generous gauge where you don't feel like it takes forever to knit, and then adding the stripes, it really feels like it goes by quickly. I also think when I go to knit the second sleeve, it's going to go by super fast because I already marked where my increases are going to happen, and it's stripes and they just get smaller. So I'm not one that feels like I'm on Sleeve Island. I like to have a vacation there. It's always nice. So I think I'll get this done very quickly. But again, that's the Albina sweater by Caitlin Hunter. Okay, so I was watching the Grocery Girls podcast, and Jody had a sample of the Jethro sweater. Is a knit and crochet pattern by Tanis Lavelli. And I don't know if I'm gonna knit it or not, but I had been really drawn in by this sweater when it was a pullover, and I always need a cardigan, so maybe. So what I saw before that was a crochet bag that Irene Lynn did a tutorial on her YouTube channel for. And it's basically taking granny squares and then placing them in a different, like in a certain way, and then just sewing them all together and adding a strap. It's very simple. I'll pop in a picture here of what she had made, and I really think it's pretty and just something different. I always am a little hesitant to do crochet. I actually love it a lot, and I like it because it works a different part of my brain. It isn't like an autopilot thing. I have to like very much be in the zone to crochet because I really feel like I have to think. So I just grabbed some random scrap yarn and started making granny squares, and I learned some things already. One, I don't know what happened there, but I'm gonna have to fix it. But this is like just a little blankie for my kid's stuffed animal. But I had just wanted to play around with crochet. So I do think I will make that bag. I got some yarn from Joann's Fabric because I don't have like a ton of worsted weight or DK weight yarns just laying around. It's not something I buy very often. I feel like if I have fingering weight yarn or a sport weight, then I'll just double it, but I never do. So if I see like a DK project that I want to do, unless I have like a fingering and a mohair just hanging out in my stash, I always have to buy that yarn. So essentially she made her bag with Lion Brand Heartland yarn, which I believe is just acrylic. Yeah, it's 100% acrylic. It is soft though, and I got 3 colors. So this reddish color is called Badlands. This one is Great Smoky Mountains, and then this one is, oh, Black Canyon. So they're like my color wheelhouse, my happy place. I think it'll be fun just to do something different. I have to be really thoughtful when crocheting for myself because it isn't something that I do very often. I tend to get a lot of hand fatigue. So I really can only sit and make like one, like this took 4 days because I can't make more than 1 square a day. It really does bother my hands and irritate my wrists quite a bit. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for that. I think when knitting, I certainly went through like a learning curve of like, one, what's bothering you and like not to do it too much or taking breaks or whatever it is. But with crochet, I feel like I'm moving my body a lot more than I am when I'm knitting. So I need to like spend some time with that and figure out maybe how to make it a little bit better. But since it's not like my biggest passion, I'm not so concerned. I can just do like 1 square here and there and like not overly damage my body. So I got that. I am hoping to make that bag. I'm, again, not in any rush. I don't have like a thing that I want to have it for, but I just thought it was a really fun project and it kind of scratched the itch of just like something different, something fiber related, but different. And so I'm really looking forward to that. The other thing that I have been kind of looking through as far as crochet, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is kind of my like whole library of crochet books. I have crochet stitches, which I made like hexagons. Well, hold on, let me think about this. I don't want to show the pattern. You might have to take my word on this. I made hexagons out of this one because the pattern is on the page. So this crochet stitches visual encyclopedia. I actually, when I first started crocheting and knitting and all of that, I only had these books. I did not realize there were patterns. I don't know. I was like, okay, well, we'll just get a book of stitches and like make something that looks like something you want. So I have used some of these and I have used some of like the ones I found knitting just to make like little funny accessories and things. But I got this so that I could make the hexagons and make some sort of pillow or blanket. I have a whole box of hexagons, but I haven't made anything with them. I haven't found the stitch that looks nice attaching them in my mind, and I either don't have enough for a blanket or what. So I haven't figured out what to do with those yet, but that was kind of my gateway, if you will, for crochet like instruction. And then I found on a D-stash, someone had a couple of books. This particular one has some really cute blankets. It's the Women's Day Book of Granny Squares and Other Carry-Along Crochet. I'm not sure what they mean by carry-along other than maybe something you could easily throw in your bag. But they have like pullovers and blankets and you name it, they've got it. All kinds of different crochet squares, granny squares. And then I also have this book, which is the Women's Day Crochet Showcase. And these are so old, but I think that's why I find them charming. But there's like shawls and vests and I don't know. But I always find these like fun. I really like vintage knitting and crochet books. And so I've been kind of just browsing through those looking for something to like make that can be a more of a long-term project. So as far as knitting goes, that's my like knitting that I have been working on and crocheting that I've been working on. But what I thought we would do today is go through some of my warmer weather knits so that I can kind of share with you what I've made in the past. This will hopefully give you some ideas on what to make in this warm weather time, or soon to be warm weather time. So here we go. Okay, let's start here. So this sweater is my effervescence sweater. This is a pattern by Amy Sher. I used Wandering Flock Cosmic Tie-Dye in the mohair and her solo fingering. So it's just a single ply fingering weight. And I think this sweater is really nice for warmer weather. With the 3/4 sleeves and the lace on top, I think it is like perfect for this type of weather. One thing I noticed when I was pulling all of these out, I don't actually have, I'm not gonna say any, but I don't have many fingering weight sweaters that are not color work, because when you add color work, it like thickens the fabric. And to me, that's like a little bit on the warm side, but I don't have a lot of these like light knits. And so because I realized that, I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to start going through patterns and finding ones that are just fingering weight, because I really think it would be nice to add those to my wardrobe, have a little lace yokes maybe, but not such a thick fabric. This one I really liked. One of the smart things that she does when you are making this sweater, she also came out with a kid's one, which is so cute. She has you put in a purl row to attach the ruffle to, which I thought was really smart. So you can knit this, no ruffle, skip that row, or you can knit it with the ruffle. And why it's so smart is it really helps you pick up where you're needing to pick up for this ruffle. I thought it was a nice like design thing that she did to like really make it easy to see like where you should be picking up that. This is a little bit like, I love the yarn and I love the pattern. I don't really wear this color very much, so it's a little bit of an odd one. I have worn this a few times, but I really have to be in the mood. Like, it is pastel neon, beautiful. Like, I love the sweater, but wearing it or on myself is not always my favorite. But I do want to make a really, after I finish this, someone had made a black one, go figure, and I was obsessed. So this is something that I would definitely make in black. Like, I would definitely make it in black and wear it all the time, probably, with or without the ruffle. So I wanted to share that one with you. It really is like such a fun knit. Let's do this one. The next one, I have two of the same sweater. I made the Caitlin Hunter's Misurina. This one is in Undine and Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colorway Slate. So this Undine is their fingering weight. Good news. They just came out with a DK weight version of this yarn, and I will say it has like beautiful drape. I believe it's a cotton linen blend, and I want to say it's like 60-40. And it really like wears so nicely. Like, I like this sweater the more that I wear it, and I really think it's so nice. This is the colorway Slate, actually, in this one. I feel like Slate in their colorway is like a very like shape-shifting color, because here it looks like very like a teal, and I feel like sometimes it looks grayish. So it really just depends on, I think, also the batch, because they are hand dyed. I feel like they all turn out just like a little bit differently. On the Misurina, I chose to do the pearl bump pattern on the body. There's two options. There's an eyelet or the pearl bump. And for this one, this was my first project where I learned ladder back jacquard. So I was so proud of this, and I did the ladder back jacquard mostly behind the columns of, what do you call it? Cables in the front. So I really was proud of like learning a new technique here. This isn't in the pattern. You can just catch your stitches or whatever, but I feel like if you do make this pattern and you use a plant-based fiber, it could be fine if you caught your stitches, but I feel like they might show. And I was really worried about them showing, because you don't have like wool where it kind of like can hide and like stick together and all that. So because I used plant-based fibers, the ladder back jacquard I think made it really lay like very flat and very nice. In the color work, you could catch your floats. It isn't a hard technique at all to master, and there's many tutorials online for that. That is my Misurina one. Okay, my second one is Knitting for Olive cotton merino. So it is The same I used as the color work on this one. I used for my body color, and then I used Spin Cycle Shades of Earth for my color work. And this one I don't believe, did I? Maybe I also did ladder back to card on this one. I think I was getting better at it. But this one, the color work I think is a little bit harder to see on the dark, but in person you really can tell all the different colors. I love the Shades of Earth colorway from Spin Cycle because it is, to me, like a very subtle dark rainbow, and I think that's really pretty. This sweater, I didn't do anything differently. I think I used a tighter needle. Like my gauge is definitely tighter on this one than it is on the other one. And the cotton merino doesn't have as much drape. So this one kind of has, it's not, I would say it's slightly more structured. Like when I wear it, it's definitely just like a shirt on your body, whereas the other one kind of melts and shapes to you a little bit more, being in the cotton and linen. And they're both really great for like warmer weather. And I love the like lace detail and the cables and the color work. It really makes for a lot of fun. Because you only have color work on the yoke, it isn't so warm. So part of my kind of conundrum with warmer weather knits is when you add, when you're doing color work and you have maybe a fingering weight or a sport weight sweater, you're like doubling the fabric. So then it doesn't feel like as cool to me. Okay, so another Caitlin Hunter pattern. This is the Autumn Alpine. And I used Issair Organic, their organic linen yarn. It's a sport weight. It's very thin though, I would say, but it is a sport weight. And I had to do, again, the ladder back to card on this one, just to make sure that my floats were caught and not like, I really feel like it's the way to go if you are doing color work with a plant-based fiber. And this one has like beautiful lace details on the sleeves, which you can keep or just switch out for ribbing if you want. But I really, really, really liked this one quite a bit. And this is one that I do wear often. I would say probably because it's black, but also I really love the color work. And it has like, especially for like spring with the flower motif, I really think it is like a fun, like kind of springy knit. The next one that I will share is another Caitlin Hunter, and then I think, oh, I might have one more. This one is the Cavat, also by her. This is one I just finished, and if you want more information on this one, you can watch my previous episode of Knit All the Things, and it has all of the details, but I use Brooklyn Tweeds Imbue Sport and Spin Cycle's kind of more of a tonal color, Mizuzu. And this one has all over lace on the body, and I really think it's a nice cool knit. It has been one that I've actually grabbed quite a lot since I just made it, probably because I just made it, but also I really love the colors, and it is like, I don't know, I'm very proud of this one. I like this one a lot. I like how it turned out. I think the stitches look great in the Brooklyn Tweed yarn, and it's just like overall, like it was a fun knit. It went by really quickly. When you get to the body and you're doing lace, that makes it go quickly. So the whole overall experience was like great for the sweater. This is the Uptown Tee by Tori U. It is a heavily modified version. I saw design for so-and-so Ashley's version, which she decided to do the lace panels all throughout. In the design, the lace is only on the sleeves, but by adding, well, you could do it either way. So you could make a sleeve adding the, like just keeping the lace and continuing it so that the sleeve is longer, because in the pattern, I want to say the sleeve is much shorter. I basically just copycatted her and made the lace patterns and stripes. And I used rerum Natura Antigone, which is a 100% organic yarn. I think had I done this again, I would go down a needle size in the lace section, just because it does seem a little bit more drapey than the stockinette sections, but I think it's okay. I haven't worn this one a ton yet, just because this is, to me, a very summery knit, having so much lace, and I really, I did wear it a lot in the summer, but I haven't worn it since. So that is the Uptown Tee by Tori U. Then we'll go to my short sleeve ranunculus. This is knit in ilimani sabri. I did just a short sleeve version of the sweater I'm wearing. And this one also is very, very good for hot days because of the cotton content. I can wear it even on the hottest days because it has no sleeves, it has a ton of lace, it's very light, and I really, really, like, during the summer, wear this a lot during the, like, hotter months. And it was a fast knit because there's no sleeves. Ranunculus is a pretty fast knit anyway. I think one day I'll make another black one that is embellished in some way, but I haven't figured out exactly which way I would do that. The next one I have is the Wisp Tank. This one is by Caitlin Hunter. This one almost killed me. I knit this thing twice. I knit and finished it twice. And the first time I finished it, it was way too big. The second time, because it is oversized, it fits much better. This is, I think, a size 2. It is an oversized kind of like vesty tank. And I like to wear this over like a t-shirt. So it has to be like a fairly warm day to wear it. And because it is loose fitting on me, it doesn't make me too warm. I find a lot of times I can get away with wearing sweatery material as long as it's not like tight, and then I don't feel too warm at all. This one is knit with Treehouse Knits Surrey Alpaca, and I don't have a colorway name for this one because I think this was like a mystery bag and I don't think it had a colorway name on it when I got it. But again, her and her bright colors, I wouldn't have chosen this color for myself. Like if I went to a yarn store, went and picked it off the shelf, I 100% wouldn't choose this. But when I got it, I got so excited and wanted to knit it right away. So I don't know. I think sometimes a mystery is great. But this one is pretty much just mirrored on both sides. You have a 2x2 ribbing, and it really is a super fast knit. Like I think each time I knit it, it was like 4 days. It was very fast. We have 2 more. Okay, so this is my Rhoda jumper. This is a pattern by Irene Lynn. I knit it in Ilimani Sabri 2, which is what I'm knitting this sweater in. And it was, I will say this pattern is not quite size inclusive, but it is very oversized. So I do think if you check the finished measurements and kind of pick a size that would feel comfortable to you in the amount of ease that you would like, then it may fit more sizes. But as it's written in the recommended ease, I would say not. So just keep that in mind. This is a size 2. I stuck to pattern, except I believe I lengthened something. I might have lengthened, I probably lengthened the body. I probably lengthened the body on the sleeves, to be honest. I don't remember. I'll link the episode where I talk about it, if you're curious. But I really like this one. You could knit this in the new Ritual Dyes Undine yarn. I think that would be really nice. It would have a lot of flow. There's a lot of things that Irene does with her patterns that are really cute, like the kind of lines underneath the sleeves. Rather than continuing the pattern, she just has like a little like stripe. I think that's really cute. I really do like her aesthetic quite a bit. This one is great. This one is not at all warm, and it's great to wear as long as it's not the hottest day. But nights, I would say 75 is probably where I'd max out on this. Like 75 Fahrenheit, maybe slightly warmer, but I probably wouldn't go more warmer than that. Okay, and last but not least, this is camisole number 2 from My Favorite Things Knitwear. It isn't, well, when I knit this, it wasn't size inclusive. It may have changed. I actually don't know. I didn't check on that. And this one I knit in the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. This was a tighter fitting tank when I finished it, and I didn't love it. So I blocked the you-know-what out of it. And then I liked it quite a bit more. I don't wear a ton of tanks. I do sometimes wear this underneath something in the summer with like a flowy, like cottony thing over. But it is a cute tank. I do think my favorite things knitwear has quite a few like very cute, like feminine looking tanks. I do think this is very flattering. The like shaping for the bodice is very flattering. But again, I don't think it's size inclusive. I just don't know. So those are kind of all of my like previous knits. Something to keep in mind if you're looking for knitting patterns for the warmer weather. I also want to say that this really did help me decide that I am going to start kind of searching for some fingering weight sweater patterns. Sometimes I'm hesitant to do them just because they take longer, but I really do think that they would add quite a bit to my already pretty good wardrobe of knitwear. So I think that is something that I'm going to be kind of looking for in the future. As far as anything else, I have been spinning for my traveler shawl. I don't really have anything to share with you because I only have a couple of singles. So I'm probably going to continue working on that. I really want to, like, probably I shouldn't, but I kind of just want to like cast it on. I have one skein of yarn. I'm kind of wondering if I cast it on, if that will like help me want to like hurry and spin faster so I can continue knitting. Maybe that's not the best plan. I don't have a ton of bottomins to just like have things laying around. So I do have to like make the yarn, ply it, and put it in a skein. Like I can't just have it like hanging out in bobbins. So I have like, it's only gonna be like one skein at a time. So maybe it's okay. I don't know. If you spin, let me know what you think I should do. That would be great. Otherwise, I am making a video. If you enjoyed seeing the things I knit, I am making another video on just like patterns that I'm considering knitting. That will be coming out very shortly, and it's going to be spring and summer knits knitting patterns that I'm looking forward to making. So keep an eye out for that video. Otherwise, if we're not yet knitting besties, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. It tells YouTube that other fiber enthusiasts like yourself enjoy this type of content. Until 2 weeks from now, make some yarn magic. Bye!